Hello, everybody. This is Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and welcome to another installment of Ask Alan. This is a show where you can ask me anything. Doesn't have to be legal related, and I will have an answer for it. I can't guarantee this can be the right answer, the wrong answer, but it's going to be my answer. And it's something I've been having some fun with, and I hope you've enjoyed this as well. I'm going to bring up my cheat sheet here. And this is a fun installment of Ask Alan because all of these questions are coming from my nieces and nephews, the Stoddards, who live out in Germantown. And they're a great family. Of course, they're my family and I love them, but they've asked me some questions and I'm going to answer them. They've asked me 16 questions. I'm not going to do all 16. I picked out 3 that I thought were kind of fun. And so I think I'm going to answer them, and we'll go from there. So the first question is, tell us about your first date with Aunt A. That's what they call my wife, Allison, Aunt A. And so I thought I'd share that. The first date, well, it really depends on which one of us you talk to on what was our first date. It was either one or two moments. The first time we met, we actually met in high school doing musical theater. We were in the show Little Abner, and over the summer, and she was cast as Daisy May, and I was eventually cast as General Bull Moose, which is a character part, which was a lot of fun doing. And so we knew each other for 4 or 5 years before we started dating. And I'm not sure what the kids call it now. I think they call it maybe talking. That we started talking in the summer between our sophomore and junior years of college, so 1985, for those of you scoring at home. And we did a show, we did Grease, and she was cast as Sandy. My wife has a wonderful singing voice. She's a great actress. And I was the assistant director and stage manager for the show. And so we started seeing each other during that show. And one day, Allison asked me if I wanted to have lunch with her. We both worked downtown Memphis. She worked for a law firm in Memphis. And she was telling me about how great the Peabody cheesecake was at a restaurant called the Cafe Espresso, which, for those of you of a certain age, remember Cafe Espresso in the Peabody Hotel was a great place to go for dessert. They also had good sandwiches. And so she said, I want you to taste the Peabody cheesecake. So we went for lunch. And as a result of the lunch, I decided to ask her out to a play. We went to see The Dining Room at Playhouse on the Square. And we did dinner and a show. And so either one of those was our first date. And the show, I believe, was maybe July 7th of 1985. I consider that to be our first date because I didn't realize that the lunch was actually part of a well-orchestrated plan to convince me that we needed to start dating. Like most guys, I guess I was just kind of a big dumb idiot and just kind of galump through life. But I'm glad that whichever way it worked out, whichever was officially the first date, I'm glad it worked out. And now some 30 some odd years, I guess 35 years later, still happily married and wouldn't change anything about that. So that's the first date, was the Dining Room. It was a pretty good play. Saw it at Playhouse on the Square, the old Playhouse on the Square, which is now Lafayette's. Was Lafayette's before, and then it became Playhouse, and now it's back being Lafayette. Again, that was a great place to see a show, and so that was our first date. And I must not have embarrassed myself because she went on subsequent dates with me. So that's the first question. Second question is, if I hadn't chose employment law, what other field of law would I have chosen? Well, I started out with an ambition to be a prosecutor. So I think I would have either been a prosecutor or criminal defense lawyer or personal injury lawyer. It would have been some area where there were lots of trials involved. And when I first started practicing, there were many more trials than there are now. Very hard to get a case to trial. It seems like every year we target here in the firm 2 or 3 cases that we think are going to go to trial and hold out to get them to trial. And usually those cases settle before we can try them. Although we really do try to, for every lawyer to try at least one case each year, whether it's in court or in an arbitration. So that's probably it. I think I would have been a prosecutor if I hadn't been an employment lawyer. And then lastly, in Survivor Winners at War, who deserved the win the most in my opinion? Well, spoiler alert for those of you who want to binge watch the most recent season of Survivor. If you haven't seen it, Winners at War, I was a Tony guy all the way through. I thought he deserved to win it. He played a great game. He was the most adapted of any of the so-called old school players. I thought that most of the great players like Boston Rob and Sandra and Parvati and some of the others who had been on before, particularly kind of back in the older versions, I'm going to say season 20 and before, they played with one particular style back then, and none of them really adapted to the new style or adapted to the fact that they were up against nothing but winners. Whereas I thought Tony did. Tony changed his style. He changed the way he interacted with people. He was very strategic all the way through. He won challenges. He had a good social game and made moves when he needed to move. And to me, that's the outwit, outplay, outlast elements. And I thought he did an excellent job, and I was very pleased to see that he won. So those are the 3 questions. That's Ask Alan for today. Please share this if you enjoyed it, forward it in an email, or share it on social media. Tell me what you think in the comments. Feel free to email me at alancrone8688@gmail.com. That's alancrone8688@gmail.com. Email me a question. Email me a series of questions or a topic. Also email me if there is a guest that you would like to see on Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm pleased to announce that on Thursday, we will release the first episode of our podcast, which will be Ask Alan, the podcast. And my first guest will be our mayor of Memphis, Jim Strickland. We had a great conversation. I really can't wait for you to see it. We talked about his background, how he became mayor, who some of his mentors were, how the city and the county are dealing with the COVID quarantine, and also what he thinks the future of Memphis is, particularly post-COVID. So it's a great wide-ranging discussion. I'd love for you to watch it, and it'll be coming out on Thursday. We're going to try to do that one a week with guests. And so if there's a guest that you would like to see on the podcast, please email me or comment on social media, and we'll do our best to get those folks on the podcast. And so our plan is to rotate it between political folks, lawyers, entrepreneurs, business leaders, other folks that in the not-for-profit community that affect Memphis and the region. And we want it to be a podcast where you can come each week and really find out something you didn't know about the person or about something going on in Memphis. And so we would love to customize that for the listenership. So if you have an idea or you have something you've always wanted to know, please let me know and we'll try to make it happen. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining me here on Ask Alan, and I'm going to go get some justice. Thank you.